Welcome to the Property Renovation Podcast with your host, James Woodham, giving you the best tips on achieving the perfect renovation whilst making it as fun, safe and as cost-effective as possible by hearing from experts in the industry and people that have been through the experience themselves. Let me introduce your host, 3 times award winner of leading renovation website House and over 15 years in the industry, renovating just over 200 properties, James Woodham.
Hello guys, this is our first Periscope live audio and video podcast. Hopefully this will go right, and I'm just giving it a go just to see whether we can reach any other people that are not reaching us on Facebook or Instagram. Just a couple of things really, some home housekeeping. If you are listening to the audio, we are on Periscope right now, and you can find us by our Twitter handle, which is @renovationcast, or you could just simply Google the Property Renovation Podcast as well. And this episode is episode 25, and it's titled 7 Common Mistakes When You're Doing a Renovation on Your Property. And just before I start, I just want to mention that we've also got a private group on Facebook, where a lot of people are having discussions, and there's lots of information, tips and tricks passing from each other. And you can go to facebook.com/groups/ the Property Renovation Podcast. And then you can just opt in to join the group. Also, we are launching a toolkit, which is 10 documents that are going to be available from the 31st of October. And the idea is it will simplify your project, and it will save you money and time when you're doing your project. And the best way to find out more information about that is you can go to akiva.com/toolkit, or you could go to the akivatoolkit.com, and then you'll find out lots of more information there. So I'll just get started on the 7 common mistakes that people do make when they're doing a renovation. First is having high expectations. The thing is, when you've got a project that you're about to start, this is probably something that you've been deciding on for ages. You're probably talking about it to your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. So it can be really exciting. And perhaps it's like your first home, or maybe a big enough home now that you can finally call it your home, and you want to create it for you. You want to make it your home. So you'll create a list of things that you want, not just what you need. And there's so much choice out there on the internet and in shops. And there's a lot of pressure when these January sales happen as well. And it's like, well, if I don't buy it now, then it might not be there when I do have the money. So you end up buying it anyway. And it will be an instant decision that you need to make right there and then. So this is something that you need to just avoid. It can be a mistake. Point 2 is not considering any of the layout for the electrics. Whether you've got a kitchen installation, a bathroom installation, a complete renovation of your property. Not many people do consider the electrics. It's just a case of I'll put them there. But this needs to be added as detail on the designs and the plans, because then there's clear instruction for the contractors that are doing the work. There's no confusion, and things hopefully will run more smoothly. You need to be thinking of like the functionality, how your lighting's going to work, where the switch points are going to be, where your appliances are going to be placed, and what height they're going to be. Is it safe for the kids that are running around your property, or dimming lights? So you're just going to want them switched? Are you going to want them two-way? So like if you've got one switch downstairs and then you've got another switch upstairs, maybe you've got a long hallway in your property, you need to be having a switch at either end, that kind of thing. So you need to be really thinking about that. Double sockets, single sockets. You've got sockets that go onto your worktop these days, and you can just literally sync them into your worktop. So that's another thing. Forgetting about appliances. This is a very common thing as well. There's so many choices out there, and there's like integrated, there is freestanding, and they do difference in size, difference in dimension, and you don't want to be disappointed. You want to think about how it's going to work with your space, with your kitchen units. Make sure that nothing's poking out, and that it's going to go in the right place. Some of the measurements that do come with some of the products, they don't really tell you the exact dimensions, because you need to consider the thickness of the socket or the pipework behind, that kind of thing. So you really need to consider that as well. Point 4 is about employing someone at too short notice, or not really thinking about it. Some contractors will be worried about giving you a realistic timeline. If you're wanting your project to start, and maybe you want it to be finished within 4 weeks, that might be realistic to you, and ample enough time. But if you're asking the contractor to commit right then and there before they even start the works on how long it's going to be, they're probably going to be a little bit nervous in telling you, and they're probably going to tell you a little bit more, and then you're going to be put off about that. And you could end up losing the very person that could have done you a good job. So just be a bit realistic. If they're going to tell you that the project's going to take 3 weeks, just to avoid any disappointment, double it. Just make sure that you say, right, okay, it's going to take double the amount of time. And if it comes within the time that they have said, then you're happy. If it comes within the time that you have said, you're happy. I just think that it's a safe enough cushion if you just double the amount of time. There's so many things that can happen within a project. So if they've given you 4 weeks for the original project, you might add on extra work and not actually think that it adds more time on. And you need to consider that. So don't put too much on them. You may be giving them access only Monday to Friday and not on the weekends. And that needs to be really clearly explained to them as well. You might be ill, so you might not be able to provide them with access to your property, or they might not be well. The weather is going to stop them as well. So there's lots of elements that come into play when you're thinking about a timeline for your project. Okay, so point 5 is living in your home should be fine, right? And not many people really understand the whole. What the experience is that you go through when you're actually living in the home, the very home that's the renovation being done. Now you need to be thinking, look, at the end of the day, there's going to be dust. There's going to be dust. It's not going to settle just once. You're going to tidy up, and then there's going to be more dust and more dust, and that's part of a renovation. There's going to be times when windows need to be open. So if you're doing your project and it's during the winter and things need to dry, or things need to be vented out, then there's going to be windows open. So you're going to have to think about keeping warm and maybe shutting the doors in some other places. Your furniture is going to be moved and stored in other places. Some furniture is not going to be accessible. Some rooms might not be accessible at certain times. So your whole house is going to be disturbed. And you need to accept that as doing the renovation. And within reason, if the project is on schedule, then you cannot take that out on the building company. So you really need to expect that your life is going to be turned upside down initially for a while, and it's part and parcel of doing any kind of renovation. Okay, so point 6 is taking the lowest quote from the contractors, or interviewing just one. Never a good idea. If you take the lowest quote, you've got a risk that the building company doesn't quite know how to price things up adequately, and they've probably missed out on certain things, desperate for the job, maybe. So you might be considering to employ the wrong contractor. And if you just narrow it down to just one, you interview one, you're happy and you hire them, then another thing, you've not given yourself much a chance to speak to other building companies and get their opinion on things, or whether their work is any different. So you need to really think about not taking the lowest quote. Always have a look. Always have minimum 3 quotes, so that you can just have a look at them and decide, and then go with the average one. And it's probably the best. If you go with the lowest quote, you're going to end up probably paying the highest quote in the end, because of all the extra works and things that weren't considered. So yeah, you need to be thinking about that. And look, lastly, point 7 is, don't forget to have fun with your project. It's not all about, it's not all about the being serious and, and spending the money and worrying about the time schedule and everything else. With all the money and the time investment, it is hard to think that you should be enjoying the process. But providing that you stay clear and you communicate on a regular basis with the building company, and you don't listen to too many disaster stories about cowboy builders and that kind of thing, then it really should be just a happy process to go with things. If things do go wrong, if small things do go wrong, it's not a matter of life and death. They can be repeated, they can be corrected. So as long as you're just cautious along the way, then you can enjoy the project. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. I think I missed saying at the beginning that this is the Property Renovation Podcast, all part of doing it on Periscope as well. Yeah, until the next one. Thank you very much. Just before you go, we wanted to let you know that the Akiva Toolkit has now launched. What's that, you might say? Well, it's 10 documents that you can go and download for a very small fee, and then it will enable you to bring your project in on time and on budget. We've put these together to make sure it's as simple as it can be. And in return, you will feel supercharged, super confident in managing your project, your self-build, your renovation, anything yourself. They've all been put together by people that have been in the industry for many, many years. And as soon as you download it, you're then in the basket for any updates, any new documents that are issued throughout the time. We will be reviewing it over time and time to get it better and better and better. We would only be able to do that by hearing from yourself. So please leave us any feedback. If you think it's for you, or you think this could benefit someone else that you might know, then please share it. You can go to akivatoolkit.com to find out more information. Thank you very much.